Alright, what is up, everybody? We are back with another edition of Everyday Hoops. Hope you guys are having a good one. Today is episode 4 of season 3 of the Look-In series. Something I do at the end of each team season where I look back at their year, talk about what happened this season, what the future looks like, and look in to what this team is doing. Today's episode, we're talking about the New Orleans Pelicans here in today's video. Thank you guys for the views on the videos and the shorts recently. I really appreciate it. If you do like the content around here, consider subscribing, liking, turn notifications to all stuff like that. I really appreciate it. We love it a lot. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, getting closer and closer as the days go on. So I'll support around the channel. Be very much appreciated. Like my Twitter and all that stuff down in the description below. And yeah, don't waste any more of your time. Let's get right into it. So, New Orleans Pelicans, that's what we're talking about today. The Pelicans had a very, very crazy and unlucky season. They finished 21-61, 14th in the West. It got off to a really bad start, obviously, and never really got better. The injury bug hit him like a truck this year, with Zion Williamson missing a lot of big chunks of the season. Brandon Ingram only playing in 18 games before he got missed the rest of the year, and then they traded him. CJ McCollum only played 56 games. Trey Murphy missed the start of the year, played very well, and then missed the last couple months due to another injury. DeJounte Murray only playing 31 games. He suffered, I think, a wrist injury after the first game of the season, came back, and then tore his Achilles. Herb Jones only played in 20 games this year. It was really just one of the most unfortunate of seasons you can have, where literally everybody in the rotation, like even Jordan Hawkins only played 56 games, Jose Alvarado only played in 55 games. The only player that played 65 or more games for the Pelicans are Yves Missy and Jeremiah Robinson Earl. Two guys I don't think anybody thought were going to be actually important players for the Pelicans this year. Those are the only two guys that played at the 65 game requirement. Those are the only two guys that could have been on any list of awards. So it was a really just horrible season in terms of injury bug for the Pelicans. And even when they were kind of healthy-ish, things could just never really go right. They never had a big stretch where it's like, oh, here come the Pelicans. There never really was that, So it was a really unfortunate year on that end. To a team that, fortunately, this has kind of been the norm for the last 3-4 years since this nucleus of Zion and Brandon Ingram and Trey and these guys have been together. There hasn't really been a full year or a full ride of this is what this team is. Every year we always get a little glimpse of it, maybe for a month stretch or whatever, and then all of a sudden someone gets hurt, either Zion or Brandon get hurt, and then it kind of derails everything. Last year was our best chance, and then Zion gets hurt in the play-in, and then he doesn't play in the playoffs, and they lose to the Thunder. So it's like every time we try and we think we have the glimpse of it and think, okay, here come the Pelicans, something happens, an injury happens, and it really derails them. And this year was that on level 10, where everything that could have gone wrong, and that's why they have this crazy bad of a season, So we look at this and we're like, dang, this really, really sucks for them. But. I think there's a bright side to this, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel for this situation and for this team. Zion Williamson is one of them. Zion Williamson, even though he only played in 30 games this year, he did have the injury bug. But when Zion Williamson was playing on the court, especially since I want to say around January-ish, he looked like a top 25 player in the NBA. I mean, he had some amazing performances. I did a video on the channel where I analyzed him and looked at his game and was talking about how amazing he looked, because he was literally on the court, he was unstoppable, and that was the Zion Williamson that we all expected to see. So you have that. You have Zion playing the best basketball of his career right now, going into next season. We want to say if he could stay healthy, we cannot guarantee that. I know that. I know we cannot guarantee a Zion Williamson healthy season at all until we see it. So we got to hold off on that. But the idea, it's tough to be in the Pelicans' mind state right now, because you're like, yes, you understand Zion has all these injuries and everything, but when he's playing, the guy is so freaking good that you're like, yeah, this is why we drafted him number one. This is it's crazy, Trey Murphy. Trey Murphy had an amazing year, 21 points per game. Really showed why he deserves this opportunity. We were saying all this time, what's going to happen with the Brandon Ingram situation, because Trey Murphy has shown enough to deserve a starting spot and deserve a better role on this team, because he's got a higher ceiling. And we saw that once Brandon Ingram went down and he came back, Trey Murphy was amazing. Trey Murphy was probably like the second best player on the Pelicans this year. He has his injury problems too. But who on the Pelicans doesn't really have injury problems at this point? But Trey Murphy, you have so having Zion and you have Trey Murphy, two guys that you can really put as the core of this team. Then surrounding it, it's still a lot of unknownness. You still have Herb Jones, who you hope comes back next year. He's one of the better role players in the league. Eves Missy was probably the brightest spot of the season for this team. Eves Missy was a guy that I loved him as a pick for the Pelicans, but I did not expect him to come out as a rookie and do what he did. He had an amazing rookie year. He made my all-rookie second team, I think. If you go back and watch my award ballot, but Eves Missy was amazing. Eves Missy was really, really good and showed a lot more flashes in his rookie year than I thought. I thought he was just going to be a decent rebounder, shot blocker, all that stuff. But no, he did more. Lob threat, putting the ball on the floor and scoring a little bit, like catching on to different things quicker than I expected. Like he was supposed to be kind of like, I guess, a project, a little raw, and he still has a lot of work to do, no doubt about that. But he came in a lot more polished than I thought he was going to look. So Eves Missy has a bright, bright future in New Orleans. So you have that there. And then you have just a lot of pieces that you just got to kind of figure out. CJ McCollum, what are we doing there? I thought he was going to be definitely a trade candidate. I would have put money on the fact that he was going to get traded after having a really good January, February. Didn't get traded, and now you look at his contract. He's going into the last year of his deal. He's eligible for an extension this offseason. He's getting paid $30 million next year before he hits unrestricted free agency in 2027. So who knows what they're going to think? Who knows what's going to happen with CJ? I would like to see him traded on another team. DeJounte Murray, coming off a torn Achilles, and still has 2 years left in his deal and a player option in 2028. So we don't know. Do they think he's the guy of the future, the point guard of the future? In his games he did play, didn't really work out. He shot 39% from the field and 30% from three in the 31 games he played. So tough there. And then still a lot of question marks like Jordan Hawkins. I really like Jordan Hawkins, but he hasn't really established himself yet. I'm hoping that next year's the year. They brought in Kelly Olynyk at the trade deadline, and Olynyk has another year left in his deals, and he looked really, really good. So maybe they bring him in and keep him next year. You still have Jose Alvarado. You brought in Bruce Brown at the trade deadline, who's on the last year of his deal. So maybe do they try to sign an extension for him? I don't really know that. And yeah, so you still have a lot of the kind of question marks surrounding this team. But when you talk about Zion, Brandon Ingram Zion and Trey Murphy as your two building blocks of the future, you add on that they're going to have a top pick in this year's draft as well. Obviously wherever that pick lands changes so many different things. Right now they're projected the fourth overall pick. So that could be a lot of different things. Maybe a VJ Edgecombe type of guy, an athletic guy you could put in there. Defensively he can really help out. It is another guard. We have DeJounte and CJ, but then again, maybe another guard isn't so bad. I would like honestly something I would like, and I thought about Dylan Harper. We don't know what DeJounte Murray is going to look like. So you have CJ as a vet. We don't know. Putting in Dylan Harper. The Pelicans have not really had a really good true point guard, I feel like, in this time frame. They had Lonzo, brought in CJ to be a point guard, but he definitely is more of a scorer. They brought in DeJounte Murray this year to kind of be that. Didn't really look great, and now with the injury, who knows? They haven't really had a true point guard, like a really good established point guard in this kind of realm. Unless I'm forgetting, I don't think I'm forgetting anybody, but if I am, let me know down in the comment section. So bringing in Dylan Harper, I would really like it. Having a young point guard with Zion and Trey, that's a really nice, solid young three right there. So I would like Dylan Harper, but then again, they're gonna have to get to the number 2 overall pick because I don't think Dylan Harper's falling less than 2, maybe 3. I don't think Dylan Harper's falling out of the top 3 unless something crazy happens. But I think the Pelicans have some decent, they're gonna have a good pick. They're gonna have a decent pick, and they also are good in the fact that they don't need a superstar. So even if they don't get a Dylan Harper, you still have Zion on your team. So they don't need the centerpiece of the rebuild yet. They don't need Zion. They don't need a number 1. They don't need Cooper Flag. If they do get him, that'd be crazy. But they don't need a Cooper Flag in this one. They don't need it. They already have Zion Williamson. You have Trey Murphy as your kind of number 2. Still trying to figure out what that is right there. Getting another just good piece a good young piece of this team does a lot for them. I feel like it does a lot. Again, they don't need to hit the home run. Just getting a good pick and a good young player does so much for them. And I don't think this Pelicans, of course, obviously they had this bad year with 20 wins. It's gonna be bad. I don't think it's gonna take too much to retool this team and get it back to being a playoff contending team. Contending meaning in the playoff mix. Not saying contending for a championship. Playoff mix. You know, back to a 40-something win team next year. I don't think that's out of possibility. I mean, again, this year was just so bad with injuries. Like literally, they had to play. Look at the guys that played the most minutes on this team: Eves Missy, Jeremiah Robinson Earl, CJ McCollum, Jordan Hawkins, Jose Alvarado, Javante Green played 50 games. Antonio Reeves played 43 games. Brandon Boston played 42 games. Colin Matkovich played 42 games. Jamal Cain. Jamal Cain played more games than DeJounte Murray, Zion Williamson, and Brandon Ingram this year. Jamal Cain played more games than all three of those guys. That's how you know how crazy of a season this was. And you just can't count on you can't count on that being like that next year where everybody's gonna miss games. But on the flip side, this team hasn't shown you in the past few years that you can be confident that they're gonna play every game. So it's kind of a weird mix where it's like this was kind of like a extra. This was an extreme. This was an extreme this year. You can't expect that next year, but you also can't expect the opposite, where Zion's gonna play 78 games, Trey Murphy's gonna play 75 games, and everything's just gonna be good. You know, you can't really rely on that yet until we see it. So I'm just very interested what the Pelicans do this offseason. I before was wondering like, is Zion around? Is Zion gonna stay around? But now after the season he had, I think Zion stays here. I think the Pelicans still believe that Zion is the guy for this team. You know, like I genuinely do still believe Zion. They think Zion is the guy and gonna try to keep building around Zion at least for another year. And then next year, who knows what happens. So Zion, Trey Murphy, Yves Missy, Herb Jones is back, Kelly Olynyk is here, Jose Alvarado, Jordan Hawkins. You have some decent role players around. Bring another top pick this year as well, another top young piece. And all of a sudden, this is not a bad team at all. Especially if Zion's playing the way that he was playing. This is a very solid team. Definitely a potential playoff team in the Western Conference. So I don't think it's as bad as we think for New Orleans. I think they have a good route. They have a good route to retool this team. They just have to really go out and execute on it. But yeah, it's going to be it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Once again, if you do like the content around here, consider subscribing, liking, turn notifications, doing all stuff like that. I'd really appreciate it a whole lot. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, so all the support around the channel, very much appreciated. Go back, there's a playlist up here somewhere. You can check out the other couple episodes of The Look In, and they're going to keep updating as more episodes come out. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow.